This video is not a warning. It's a reminder. A reminder of what can happen if you don't know who your real friends are. For some, this may be an eye-opener. For others, a source of regret. But my hope is that this video helps you surround yourself with genuine friends. People who truly like you, care for you, and want to share your friendship for many years to come. The nature of friendship. Friendship is one of the most fundamental aspects of being human. We need friends to play with when we are little, to help each other when we are young, to rely on one another as adults, and to support each other as we grow older. Everyone agrees that friendship is essential. How can one live without it? Still, we must ask, who are your true friends? How many friends do you really need? And how can you be a good friend yourself? In this video, I'll answer some of these questions, drawing from my own experience and my background in philosophy, religion, and medicine. These fields are not just about understanding the world around us. They're about understanding ourselves and learning to live life fully and wisely. Start making friends early. Even though we're all different and attract different kinds of people, we're all destined to have friends. We are social beings by nature, meant to live with others, not in isolation. When we are little, we make friends naturally. Watch how children play, they don't even ask each other's names. It's the act of playing together that bonds them. Friendship at that age is pure and effortless. My message to parents is this. It's your responsibility to make sure your children grow up surrounded by other children. Don't isolate them. Childhood friendships teach us how to live, share, how to interact with each other, and care for others. A lonely childhood often shapes a difficult adulthood. It is that important to understand. Friendship in youth. As we grow older, friendship becomes more complicated. We remember more, learn more, and become more cautious. To young people I say, learn not only from your own mistakes but also from the mistakes of others. Enjoy your friendships fully, because many of them can last a lifetime. But do pay attention to what others say because you may not always see things straight and others, such as your loved ones, may help. I must say that friends are different from family. They bring a joy and harmony that family, with all its responsibilities, sometimes cannot. That's not wrong. It's part of life. Time reveals true friendship. Time is a very important asset. You want to use it wisely. As adults, our time becomes precious. And it's time that reveals who your real friends are. People often say, you find out who your true friends are when you're in trouble. That's true. But try not to wait for trouble to find out. Try other ways. If you pay attention, you will always know where you are and what to do. Don't rush it either. Give it some time. And remember, good things come to those who wait. We know that some people are not who they appear to be. If you identified them, you don't necessarily need to cut them off, but you do need to set your boundaries so they can't take advantage of you or harm you in any other way. I am talking about the kind of friends who only reach out to you when they need something. Those are not your real friends. They are simply the people you know, and there is nothing wrong with having them in your life. The fundamental thing is that real friends make time for you. Ask yourself, who in your life truly does that? Skip those who always find excuses. If you always make time for someone but they never make time for you, then you are not their priority. And you should not allow yourself to be taken for granted. At the end of the day, friendship is about priorities. True friends will always find time for you, no matter the circumstances. This is not the reason to cut such people loose. This is about understanding where you stand in that relationship and acting accordingly. You do not want to live in illusion no matter how comfortable it may be. Recognizing the drainers. I once had friends who called me often, but it did not take long to see that they did this only while stuck in traffic or waiting in line while their car got serviced. But once they finished their errands, their calls would end quickly. They were never available at any other time. I am not saying that you need to get rid of them. We all need to chat, but I just want you to understand that you are not going to build any solid in such relationships, because they are shallow and lack some foundational things like reliability, respect, or commitment that can be actually lacking on either side. When analyzing friendships with other people, ask yourself, do they share their life with you as openly as you share yours? Remember that friendship is mutual. Real friends have little to hide. They are open and sincere with each other. Avoid those who share almost nothing about themselves. Yes, they can be shy, but I want to warn you about those who aren't. In fact, they might be very outgoing. Most likely it is because they are takers, and it is simply not in their nature to give, be it material things or simple information. There are many reasons why this happens, but I just want to warn you about those who care only about themselves, as those are the ones that you should avoid. I have had such friendships in the past. And you probably did too. I've had friendships where, after years, I realized I knew almost nothing about those friends. I was the one sharing, offering advice, tips, even small things like savings or bargains, while they shared almost nothing. Later, I understood why. Some were absolutely selfish, while others were afraid of me getting ahead of them. These are real stories with real people, and you should be aware of not only selfish people but those who are competing with you, whether you realize it or not, as nothing good will come out of any of these friendships. Yes, some people stay close as long as they can benefit from you. Once they can't, they disappear. I call them drainers. They take your time, energy, and kindness, and give little or nothing in return. Pay attention to such patterns and decide for yourself if you need to continue such friendships. Again, you don't have to cut them loose. In many cases, it is just a matter of prioritizing your time and resources. When you are generous, easygoing, you may not even notice this. Sometimes it takes years to recognize this. I will say more. If you see your down-to-earth friend or someone in your family, or someone you know being taken advantage of like that, let them know about it as much as you can. Do not let the drainers feed off of other people. What true friendship looks like. Let me tell you about two real friends I have so you can see what true friendship feels like. One of them is from my college years. He lives in another country now with his family, while I have a family of my own. We helped each other in the past without ever expecting anything in return, and we continue to do so. We live simply but fully, full of adventure and laughter. Once, I flew across the Atlantic for an unscheduled business meeting, which happened to be in the same city where my friend lives, and so I came to his house, knocked on his door without warning. He was shocked and said, "No way! You came all this way without even telling me." I smiled and said, "I just wanted to do what we used to do years ago. Drop by unannounced." He laughed and said, "I love it. You know you can come to my house anytime. I'm so happy you are here. Kids, you will not believe this. Come. My best friend is here. He was brought by a fairy." That's what real friendship is. Simple, honest, and unconditional. If you have even one such person in your life, you are a truly blessed person. A hard lesson. Now let me tell you about another friendship, one that taught me a painful lesson. Years ago, I had a friend who was struggling. Low-paid job, or at least that's what he said. Unstable living situation, noisy roommates, stress, and so on. I helped him in every way I could. I invited him over almost every weekend, shared food, beers, advice, and encouragement. My wife even tried to help him meet someone. Then one day he vanished. Calls went unanswered. When he did reply, it was always, "Sorry, I'm really busy." I've always believed in giving people their privacy. You don't want to impose yourself on others. But this didn't feel like friendship. A few years later, I bumped into him at a local store. He looked completely different. I found out he was married, had a house, a good job, and, to my surprise, lived just a few miles away. That was a shock. He didn't seem happy to see me or to share any of this news. Coincidentally, one of my longtime customers lived right next to him, so I asked about my old friend. He told me some interesting stories. I learned that my friend had taken my advice almost word for word, followed the career path I suggested, even used the company contacts I had given him. My customer said, "Everyone knows him. He bought his house with cash. Who does that these days?" At first, I was happy to hear that things had worked out for him, but there was one thing missing. He had never shared any of this with me. I understand some people are private, but he never once said thank you. Instead, he simply disappeared. I remembered our brief conversation in the store, how he said several times, "Didn't you know this?" I was stunned and hurt, even though I didn't show it. He had used me when he needed me, and once he got what he wanted, I was no longer important to him. Later, my wife and I thought about how we could have missed such a red flag. We realized he was very likable, charming, and knew how to play the game well, appearing unlucky and needy, almost like a little brother, while secretly following his own plan to take advantage of us. There was nothing left of that once promising friendship. I didn't even need to cut ties. I never heard from him again. After years of silence, I simply deleted his phone number. That was not friendship, that was opportunism. Avoid such people by all means. Another kind of friend to avoid is the jealous one. These are people who comfort you when you are in pain. Typically, they don't come to help, but to offer compassion and sympathy, which isn't necessarily bad. Yet you should ask yourself whether they can truly share in your successes and whether you feel free to share your joy with them. They'll listen when you fail but grow silent when you succeed. Pay close attention to how they react to your good news. Their true feelings are often written on their faces, no matter how pleasant they may appear. Avoid those who hesitate before offering a fake reaction, whether over the phone or in person. I once had a friend who bought a new car right after I did. Not because he needed one, but because he couldn't stand the thought of me having something new. If you notice this pattern, take it seriously. Jealousy poisons friendship. Avoid these people at all costs. They're not worth your time or peace. And if you can't avoid them, never share good news about yourself or your family with them. Friendship at work. You can have good friends at work, but never forget that you are at work. Be friendly, yes, but be wise and remember, coworkers are not your friends. I know this may sound shocking to some of you, but take it seriously. The hard truth is that you won't know who your true friends are until something major happens, and by then, it might be too late. Best case scenario. You'll feel betrayed and disappointed, yet still have to keep working with them. Worst case scenario. You could lose your job. Never speak negatively about your boss or anyone else at work, regardless of who they are, manager or mail carrier. You'll be surprised how quickly conversations spread and how distorted they become along the way. Work is simply not the place to discuss such things. Be careful about what you share with your friends, too. You never truly know who is grounded and who might be envious. Always protect your reputation and don't let it be tarnished. When leaving a job, never slam the door behind you. You won't prove or change anything by doing so. Always remain positive and grateful because you applied for that job voluntarily. And remember, in most cases, people at work look out for themselves. no matter how genuine they may appear. I once worked with someone who was always kind to me until they used my work to get themselves promoted. On the other hand, I had a colleague I thought was indifferent, but she defended me when it truly mattered, and she didn't have to. When I later asked why, she simply said, "Because it was the right thing to do." So here's my advice. Be kind to everyone. Treat people fairly. Maintain strong work ethics. But I'll say it again. Coworkers are not your friends. You don't need to be paranoid. Just find and maintain the right balance between professionalism and friendship. My final thoughts. True friendship is a reflection of who you are. Philosophy teaches us to examine it, to see it realistically without illusion. Religion teaches us that friendship is a sacred bond rooted in love, loyalty, and compassion. It promotes honesty, forgiveness, mutual support, and selflessness. Medicine reminds us that toxic relationships harm both mind and body. Keep your real friends close. Treat them as you treat yourself, with dignity, honor, and care. The rest will come naturally. Avoid the fake ones, not with anger, but with understanding, peace, and forgiveness. It's not about quantity but quality. The fewer, the truer, the better. May you always be surrounded by genuine friends who value your friendship as much as you value theirs. Please like, share, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. Share your own stories in the comments below. And thank you for watching this video until the very end.